You are listening to Naked Soul Reflections, mindful moments from clothes-free living with your host, Anthony Hart.
Greetings everyone, Anthony Hart here, and welcome to another episode of Naked Soul Reflection. This week I invite you to celebrate your tiniest victories. And I have a few reasons for this. I was inspired by a practice of keeping a food journal that I started last month after a Twitter chat. And that food journal is not about tracking calories or counting any specific things, because for me that tends to create a lot of obsession and micro-focus. But rather, this keeping a food journal is to track how I feel after I eat or drink anything. It's to keep track of my energy. And I found that just keeping this very basic, non-judgmental journal and just noting if I ate something, whether I felt anxious, worked up, foggy, alert, energized, whether it carried me and satisfied me through several hours, I found that this practice brought me back to being present just to what's happening in my body and in my being. And as I've been keeping that journal, as I started to track my energy, the way I responded to things has started to shift ever so subtly. So if I get upset or sad or frustrated or angry, I less often turn to food to overeat and comfort myself, and I also don't deny myself, like undereat. And those are two things that I used to do in response to any sort of heightened emotional experience, even positive ones. If I was extremely happy, I might under or overeat. And if I was angry, sad, upset, anxious, worried, I would under or overeat. And so this simple practice of just being like, oh, I feel foggy, or I feel good, or I feel weird after I eat, or maybe I feel fine. And even if I didn't think I would feel fine after eating something, it's quite interesting to face the truth, the truth that everything is okay. I remember going out to have some food with one of my two friends, and I assumed that just because I had onion rings, I would feel horrible, and I didn't. And it was just one of those things where writing in my food journal helped me see that there's no huge catastrophe every time I eat something that I don't normally eat. Anyway, lately, I've had a few moments where either I was feeling angry or sad or some sort of heightened emotional experience. And I realized, like, in the moment, I thought, I would normally eat something, but I actually feel like energetically, I feel at peace. And so I'm good. I don't need to consume anything. And the very fact that I paused before running into the kitchen and grabbing something, the very fact that I paused and thought about it was a huge victory to me. Huge. And sometimes I pause and check how I feel, and I eat something anyway. And I just write it down and note how I feel. But it was so interesting to see that tiny shift of, wait a minute, how do I feel energetically? Energetically, I feel okay. If I eat something else, I might feel muddied, or I'm already satisfied, so maybe I just don't really desire anything else. So that was the coolest thing so I celebrated that. I wrote down in my diary that I was so proud of myself for pausing and thinking about it before just mindlessly jumping into some sort of reaction to my emotions. And it's really important for us to celebrate those tiny victories. And here are a few reasons why that I found in my life. First of all, it tells us the truth. Celebrating our tiniest victories tells us the truth. And, a lot of times I'll think, oh, I'm not getting any healthier. I'm not making any strides. I might stand in the mirror and look at my body and think, this is the same stomach I've had. This is the same butt I've had. These are the same arms I've had. I look at my skin and I'm like, I don't really know. And so I'll look at that for my only source of truth. And that's not always going to happen. It's not always going to be some sort of magical physical thing on my body if I'm standing there looking at it and waiting for confirmation from the mirror. I might even feel like, oh, well, I've not made any progress because I still look the same and I wear the same clothes, so guess I haven't done anything with myself. But that's not true. The truth is I've started pausing, that I've started thinking, and that I haven't actually gone off and under or overeated out of emotional reaction to some sort of emotional heightened experience. So celebrating that tiny victory helped me see the truth, that there was a subtle shift. And subtle shifts are so important for us to get present to. This is the same in yoga practice, where I might have done Warrior 2 the same time for the last 5.5 years since I started practicing yoga, and then I'm in Warrior 2 one day and I make one tiny adjustment and my whole body feels different. Maybe I just learned to press down on the ball of my big toe, and that makes a huge difference in my Warrior 2. But it's a tiny little thing. Or think about if you're at work and normally there's one colleague who comes in, every time they come in, you just want to bite their head off. Every time this issue comes up, you want to bite people's heads off. Why are they so stupid? Why do they never follow policy? Why? And to become present to those times when you don't bite someone's head off, when you notice that you refrained from reacting to somebody, it helps us get present. Recognizing those tiny victories helps us get present to the truth that we are progressing, that we are changing, that we are making strides. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I have the most negative thoughts about myself, the most demeaning, the most just terrible thoughts about myself. But taking time to celebrate these victories tells me the truth. The truth is that now I'm not flying into reaction with regard to my eating every time something happens. I pause, and sometimes I eat and sometimes I don't. But there's that magical pause, a tiny victory. So I don't know if that means I lost or gained weight or if, my skin changed, but I know without worrying about that one representation of results, I know that I paused. So celebrating those tiny victories tells us the truth about the wonderful strides we're making. The second thing is I noticed that being back in the classroom teaching yoga, if I haven't practiced celebrating my own tiny victories, I forget to celebrate other people's tiny victories. So if I see that someone's been just staying with their yoga practice, consistently being with it, I might forget to say, hey, awesome job, like constantly giving yourself something good. I forget to say, hey, good job. I forget to support them because I don't support myself with positive feedback. So that stood out to me maybe a week or so ago after I taught that because I hadn't taken time to celebrate my victories, my tiny victories, I didn't know I wasn't practicing celebrating other people's tiny victories. And people need that. They need to be reminded that, hey, you're doing such good things for yourself. This tiny change is so huge. And so as a teacher, it's incumbent upon me to practice that, celebrating my tiny victories so that I remember to celebrate other people as well and to remind them to celebrate. And then from there, they take that and they celebrate other people, and it continues to roll out over and over again into the world. So I offer that to you this week. Take some time, perhaps writing things down or saying it out loud, even if it's just to a wall or to stuffed animals like I do. Celebrate a tiny victory this week. Whether it's that you got up and you showered, or you got up and you did 5 minutes of clothes-free meditation. Whatever it is, celebrate that tiny victory. The one angry email that you don't send. You type it out, you're angry, you're frustrated, and before hitting send, you pause, and you thought, you know what, no. Celebrate that. And see how that presences you to the truth of the progress and the strides you are making in your life. And perhaps that opens you up to celebrate others from an authentic, organic place. As always, I will continue practicing this exact same thing with you. And my heart is always, always with you. Namaste, friends.